My stepmom texted me 4 days before the family vacation. Sorry, sweetie, we're not gonna have room for you this year. So I booked the same cruise and watched her face melt when I sat down for dinner. I'm 24. My dad married Colleen 3 years ago. She has twin sons who are 19. From day one, she made it clear I was the problem. Too old to be cute, too young to be independent. I took up space in what was now her house. The vacation was supposed to be a big family reunion cruise. My dad's side does this every 5 years. It's the one time we all get together. I'd been looking forward to it since I was 19. 4 days before departure, that text came through. My cabin had been given to the twins. They need to bond with their new family, Colleen explained when I called. You're an adult now. My dad stayed silent on the other end, just cleared his throat and said he'd make it up to me. I hung up and called the cruise line. One cabin left. I emptied my savings and booked it. I didn't tell anyone. The first night, I waited until the dining room was full. I wore the red dress I'd been saving and walked in like I owned the place. My grandmother saw me first. Darling, you made it, she called across the room. Colleen's head snapped around. Her mouth fell open. The twins looked confused. My dad's face went pale. I kissed my grandmother's cheek. Of course I made it, Nana. But Colleen said you couldn't afford it, my aunt said. I've had my cabin booked since last year. I pulled out my phone showing the text thread. 4 days ago, you told me there wasn't room. The cruise line confirmed my booking was canceled using Dad's credit card. 2 hours before you sent that text. My dad's jaw clenched. Colleen, what is she talking about? I was trying to... The twins. She couldn't finish. My uncle crossed his arms. So you canceled her reservation and lied? We can discuss this later, Colleen hissed. No, my dad said quietly. We'll discuss it now. My grandmother stood up and dumped her wine glass over Colleen's head. The dining room went silent. In this family, Nana said coldly, we don't abandon our own. Colleen fled, wine dripping from her hair. The twins followed. My dad sat frozen. I took the empty seat. Over the next hour, I told them everything. Every snide comment, every exclusion, every family photo I'd been cropped out of. My aunt showed evidence from Colleen's social media. Pictures where my belongings had been edited out. My dad's face got harder with every story. That night, the twins knocked on my cabin door. They looked miserable. We didn't know, one said, about any of it. They showed me texts from their mom coaching them on what to say. Instructions to make themselves the center of attention. Rules about never mentioning me. She's been planning to push you out completely, one admitted. She wanted Dad's money and inheritance to go to us. The next morning, my phone rang. Your father has upgraded your accommodation to the owner's suite. When I got there, my dad was on the balcony. His eyes were red. Your stepmother has been escorted off the ship, he said quietly. She'll fly home from our next port. I've contacted my lawyer. I sat beside him. We watched the ocean in silence. Then he turned to me. I need to tell you something about your mother's life insurance policy, the one Colleen's been managing. My blood ran cold. When your mom died, she left you $380,000, my dad said, his voice breaking. It was in a trust until you turned 25. Colleen was supposed to oversee it until then. My hands started shaking. Was supposed to? He pulled out his phone and showed me a series of bank statements. Withdrawals, transfers, hundreds of transactions over 3 years. She's been draining it systematically. $2,000 here, $5,000 there. Nothing large enough to trigger alerts. She told me she was investing it for your future. I stared at the numbers. The balance that should have been $380,000 was $43,000. She stole over $300,000 from me? The twins' college tuition, my dad continued, his voice hollow, fully paid. The new car they got last year, the house renovations, her jewelry, all of it came from your mother's life insurance. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted. I found the statements yesterday when I was looking for our cruise documents. She'd hidden them in a folder labeled warranties. I spent all night going through them with our accountant. How long have you known? 20 hours. He looked at me with tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. I should have checked years ago. I trusted her. I failed you. My aunt appeared in the doorway. She'd been standing there listening. That lying thief, she spat. Helen, your mother was my best friend. She made me promise to watch over you if anything happened to her. I failed too. My uncle was right behind her. Not anymore. We're fixing this. The next hour was chaos. My uncle, who's a corporate attorney, started making calls. My aunt pulled up financial records she'd kept from my mom's estate. My grandmother arrived with 3 more relatives, all of them furious. In my 60 years, Nana said, her voice like ice. I've never seen such calculated cruelty. My dad's phone kept ringing. The ship's security, his lawyer back home, the cruise line's legal department. Colleen's being held in her cabin until we dock tomorrow, security explained. Local authorities will meet the ship. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about every nice thing Colleen had bought herself. Every time she'd told me I needed to be more financially responsible. Every lecture about saving money. She'd been spending my mother's money while giving me advice on budgeting. The twins knocked again around midnight. They looked worse than before. Our college funds, one whispered. It's her money, isn't it? I nodded. We didn't know, he repeated. We swear we didn't know. The car? The other asked. Hers. They both slumped against the wall. Everything we have, one said slowly, was stolen from you. Not by you, I said. By your mother. What happens now? She goes to jail. The money gets recovered. Your lives change. They were quiet for a long moment. We deserve that, one finally said. We'll give everything back, the car, whatever we can. You were kids when this started. She manipulated you too, but we benefited from it. We have to make it right. I respected that. Despite everything, they were trying to be decent. The next morning, we docked in Cozumel. 2 police officers boarded and escorted Colleen off in handcuffs. She screamed the entire way. claiming she was being framed, that I'd forged documents, that the family had always hated her. My grandmother watched from the upper deck. Good riddance. The rest of the cruise became a different kind of family reunion. We spent days going through documents, building the legal case, and planning next steps. My aunt helped me file a police report. My uncle started restitution proceedings. My dad moved through it all like a ghost, barely speaking. On the fourth night, I found him alone on the deck again. "I don't know how to fix this," he said. "You can't fix it, Dad. Not really." Neem, she convinced me you were being difficult, that you were jealous of the twins, that you needed to grow up and accept the new family dynamic. I know. Every time you tried to talk to me, she was there first with her version. I chose to believe her instead of my own daughter. You loved her. That's not an excuse. He turned to face me fully. Your mother trusted me to take care of you, to protect you. I married someone who stole from you for 3 years while I stood by and watched you struggle to make rent. I didn't know the money existed. I thought Mom had nothing left after the medical bills, because I let Colleen tell you that. I let her control the narrative about everything. We sat in silence. The ocean stretched out endlessly. "The house," he said finally. "It's yours. I'm putting it in your name, along with my retirement accounts. Everything I have. It won't make up for what she took, but I don't want your house, Dad. Then what do you want? I want you to be my father again, not her husband, not the twin stepdad. Mine." He broke down completely. 52 years old, sobbing on the deck of a cruise ship. I held him while he cried. For the first time in 3 years, he felt like my dad again. The twins started avoiding me after that. Not out of anger, but shame. They'd lock themselves in their cabin for hours, skip meals. When I finally cornered them at breakfast on day 6, they looked exhausted. "We're trying to figure out how to live with this," one explained. "Our entire college education is funded by dead woman's insurance money," the other added. "Money meant for her daughter. You didn't steal it, she did. But we benefited. Every day. While you worked 2 jobs and ate ramen for dinner." I'd forgotten they'd seen that. Last Christmas, when I'd visited for exactly 2 hours before claiming I had to work, my sad container of leftover pasta in the fridge. "I'm withdrawing from school," one announced. "I'll get a job and start paying you back. Don't be ridiculous. It's the right thing to do." "The right thing," I said carefully, "is to finish your education, graduate, build a career. Then if you still feel you owe me something, we'll talk about it. Why are you being nice to us? We're her sons. You're also human beings who got caught in your mother's schemes. I'm not going to punish you for her crimes." They looked at each other, then back at me. "Our dad died when we were 7, one said quietly. "Mom married your dad for his money. She told us that directly. Said it was smart planning. She also told us you were a spoiled princess who'd had everything handed to you. That your mom had been wealthy and left you set for life. That you were just playing poor for attention." My jaw dropped. "She said what? We thought we were leveling the playing field, taking what was fair. She made it sound like you had millions and we had nothing. I had nothing. Less than nothing after she canceled my cruise reservation. We know that now." The rest of the cruise was strained. My extended family treated me like glass, constantly checking if I was okay. The twins avoided eye contact with everyone. My dad stopped eating, dropping 10 pounds in a week. When we finally docked back in Miami, there was a media circus waiting. Someone had leaked the story. Camera crews everywhere. "Is it true your stepmother stole your inheritance?" Reporters shouted. "How long has this been going on? Do you blame your father?" My uncle shielded me to the car. My aunt ran interference. My grandmother actually shoved a cameraman. At home, it got worse. Colleen had destroyed my childhood bedroom. Every photo of my mother was gone. My yearbooks, awards, personal belongings, all in garbage bags in the garage. She'd converted my room into an office, painting over the walls my mom and I had stenciled together when I was 9. "She did this last month," my dad said, his voice dead. Told me it was time to let go of the past. I stood in the doorway of what used to be my sanctuary, my safe place, the room where my mom had read to me every night, where she'd held me when I was sick, where I'd cried myself to sleep the first year after she died. Colleen had erased all of it. "I want her prosecuted," I said, "for all of it. The theft, the fraud, the emotional abuse. Everything." "Already done," my uncle said, appearing behind us. "She's being charged with felony theft, wire fraud, and identity theft. The DA is pushing for the maximum sentence." "How long?" 15 to 20 years if convicted on all counts. My dad made a sound like he'd been punched. "She deserves it," Nana said, joining us. "She's a con artist who targeted this family. I married her," my dad whispered. "I brought her into our lives." "Yes," I said. "You did." The truth hung between us. The investigation took 3 months. Forensic accountants traced every dollar. They found even more than we'd initially discovered. Colleen had also been stealing from my dad's business account. Small amounts. $500 monthly transferred to an offshore account. "She's been planning her exit strategy," the investigator explained. "Building a nest egg for when she left your father." "So this was always temporary?" my dad asked. "The evidence suggests she never intended to stay past 5 years, long enough to drain resources and establish legal claims to assets. She told me she loved me. She told you what you needed to hear to give her access to your money." My dad aged 10 years in those months. He stopped going to work, stopped seeing friends, just wandered the house like a ghost. "I need to sell it," he told me one night. "I can't live here anymore. Every room reminds me of my stupidity." "It's not your stupidity. She was skilled. I chose her over you, multiple times. That's not skill. That's my failure." He wasn't wrong. The twins moved out, getting an apartment together near their campus. They'd both gotten part-time jobs despite my objections. Every month, $200 appeared in my bank account from an anonymous source. I knew it was them. The trial started in November. The courtroom was packed. My entire extended family showed up. a wall of support. The twins sat in the back, not knowing where else to go. Colleen looked different, thinner, harder. She'd cut her hair short and wore glasses she didn't need. Playing the victim, my aunt muttered. Watch. She was right. Colleen's defense was that she'd been financially abused by my father, that she'd only taken what she was owed for caring for his daughter, that I was a difficult child who'd needed constant management. I gave up my career to blend our families, she testified, dabbing fake tears. I sacrificed everything. The prosecutor was merciless. You canceled the defendant's cruise reservation using her father's credit card without permission, correct? I was trying to help the family bond. Yes or no? Yes, but you withdrew $337,000 from a trust fund meant for the defendant, correct? I was investing it. Did you have legal authority to withdraw any amount? Silence. Ms. Rodriguez, did you have legal authority to access that trust fund? No. Did you tell the defendant about these withdrawals? No. Did you use this money for personal expenses? The family needed. Did you use this money to pay for your son's college tuition? Yes. For a vehicle for your sons? Yes. For luxury goods for yourself? Some. How much jewelry did you purchase with the defendant's inheritance? More silence. The prosecutor produced receipts. $67,000 in jewelry, $31,000 in designer clothes, $45,000 in spa treatments and cosmetic procedures. You spent nearly $150,000 of a dead woman's insurance money on yourself while her daughter worked 3 jobs to afford rent. Is that correct? When you say it like that, is it correct? Yes. The jury deliberated for 40 minutes. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, I was allowed to speak. My mother died when I was 14, I started. She left me money so I'd have security, so I could go to college without drowning in debt, so I'd have a foundation to build my life on. Colleen stole that security. She spent 3 years systematically erasing my mother's final gift to me while pretending to be my parent. She manipulated my father, turned him against me, and tried to erase me from my own family. But what hurts most isn't the money. It's knowing she destroyed my childhood bedroom, that she cut me out of family photos, that she coached her sons to exclude me while spending my mother's life insurance on their college education. She didn't just steal money, she tried to steal my place in my own family. I hope she gets the maximum sentence, not for revenge, but because she's dangerous. She targeted my family with precision and almost succeeded in destroying it. The judge looked at Colleen with open disgust. I've seen financial crimes before. This isn't that. This is psychological warfare waged against a grieving child. The cruelty here is breathtaking. 18 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for 12. Colleen screamed as they led her away. My dad sat stone-faced. The twins both had tears running down their faces. Outside, reporters swarmed again. How does it feel to get justice? Do you forgive your father? What happens to the twins? I ignored them all and went to my car. My aunt drove me home. Your mother would be proud, she said. Would she? You fought back. You stood up. You didn't let them erase you. I almost did. If not for that cruise, I might have just accepted it. But you didn't. That's what matters. The money recovery took another 6 months. The jewelry was sold at auction. The car was repossessed from the twins. Colleen's offshore accounts were frozen and seized. In the end, I recovered $287,000. The rest was gone, spent on things that couldn't be traced or sold. My dad tried to make up the difference from his own accounts. I refused. You need to rebuild your life, I told him. I need to rebuild mine. We do that separately. So you're done with me? I don't know yet. Maybe. It was the most honest I'd been with him since my mother died. The twins graduated on time. They'd both made Dean's List, studying like their lives depended on it. At the ceremony, they found me in the crowd. We wanted you to know, one said. We're paying you back. All of it. We have jobs lined up. It might take 10 years, but we'll do it. I told you that's not necessary. It is for us. We can't move forward until we've made this right. I understood that. Sometimes you need to pay your debts, even the ones that weren't technically yours. My dad started therapy. He joined a group for people who'd been financially abused. It seemed pathetic at first, but I saw him changing, getting stronger. I'm selling the house, he told me 6 months after the trial. I can't heal there. Too many ghosts. Where will you go? Somewhere small. Somewhere I can start over. He paused. Will you help me look? It was the first thing he'd asked of me in years. Not demanded, not assumed, actually asked. Yeah, I said. I'll help. We found him a condo near the beach. 1 bedroom, clean lines, no memories. Your mother would hate this, he said when we toured it. She loved Victorian houses with history. Mom would want you to be happy, even if it's in a minimalist box. I wasn't happy with Colleen. I was distracted. There's a difference. I know. I loved your mother so much it physically hurt when she died. Then Colleen came along and promised to make the pain go away. I let her because I was weak. You were grieving. I was selfish. I chose my comfort over your well-being. Yes, I said. You did. Can you ever forgive me? I don't know. Ask me again in a year. He nodded. It was enough. I used some of the recovered money to buy my own place. A small house with a garden, the kind my mother always wanted. I planted roses in her memory, pink ones, her favorite. The twins came to visit once I'd settled in. They brought plants and offered to help with yard work. You don't have to do this, I told them. We want to, if you'll let us. We spent the afternoon planting. They were good workers, careful and thorough. Over pizza afterward, we actually talked. Our mom told us you were the enemy, one admitted. From day one, said you'd try to turn Dad against us. She made us compete with you for affection we never needed to compete for. Dad had enough love for all of us. She just didn't want him spreading it around, because she didn't actually love him. She loved his assets. Do you hate her? I asked. They thought about it. No, one finally said. That would mean she still has power over us. We pity her. She's going to spend the next 12 years minimum in prison because she couldn't stop scheming. When she gets out, we're not having contact with her, the other added. We've already told her lawyer that. She's your mother. She's a criminal who used us as weapons. That's different. I thought about my own mother, how she'd lived every day with terminal cancer but never made it about her, how she'd planned for my future, putting aside money even when treatments were bankrupting them, how she'd made my father promise to protect me. She'd been the opposite of Colleen in every way. I'm going back to school, I announced. Going to finish my degree? In what? I was studying social work before I had to drop out. Want to help people rebuild after trauma. That's perfect. Your mom would be proud. Yeah, I said softly. I think she would. My dad came to my first day of classes. He'd asked if he could, tentatively, like he wasn't sure he was allowed. I missed your high school graduation because I was too wrecked after mom died. Missed your 21st birthday because Colleen said you wanted it small. I've missed too much. You were there for the trial. Barely. I was so ashamed I could hardly function. And now? Now I'm trying. That's all I can offer. Trying to be the father you deserved all along. That's a start. He sat in his car and watched me walk into the building. Later, he sent a photo. Me with my backpack heading toward my future. Proud of you, the text said. Love, Dad. It was the first time he'd said he loved me in 3 years. I cried in the bathroom before class. That Christmas, my family did our reunion again. No cruise this time. Just Nana's house. The way we used to do it. The twins were invited. They came hesitantly, bringing thoughtful gifts and homemade cookies. We weren't sure if we'd be welcome, one admitted. You're welcome, Nana said firmly. What your mother did doesn't define you. Your response to it does. You've been decent young men. That's earned you a place at this table. They both teared up. We played games and told stories. My aunt showed me photos of my mother I'd never seen. My uncle made terrible jokes. My dad mostly watched, still learning how to be part of the family again after Colleen's isolation tactics. She had him convinced we were all toxic, my aunt told me, that we'd turn him against her. Classic abuser playbook. He's figuring it out now. Is it enough? For you? I don't know yet. But it's something. On New Year's Eve, my dad knocked on my door with a large box. I found these in the garage. Colleen had thrown them away, but the garbage company hadn't picked up yet. Inside were my mother's things. Photo albums, her jewelry, my baby book, letters she'd written me before she died, meant to be opened on future birthdays. I thought they were lost, I whispered. I almost didn't look in those bags. Something made me. I opened the first letter. To my daughter on her 18th birthday. It was her handwriting, her voice, her love, preserved on paper. She knew she was dying, my dad said quietly. She spent her last months writing these. One for every milestone. Graduation, first apartment, wedding day. There are 17 of them. I held the letters like they were made of glass. Thank you, I said, for finding them. It's the least I could do. He left me alone with my mother's words. I read until dawn, hearing her voice in every line, feeling her love reach across the years. She'd known I'd struggle, that I'd doubt myself, that I'd face hardship. But you're stronger than you know, she'd written in the graduation letter. You have my stubbornness and your father's heart. That combination is unstoppable. If you're reading this, it means you survived. You made it through the grief, through the darkness. I'm so proud of you. Remember that love doesn't die. It transforms. I'm in every sunset you watch, every rose you smell, every moment of joy you find. I'm there. Live fully, my darling girl. Love deeply, fight fiercely, and know that I loved you more than life itself. I sobbed through all 17 letters. Then I went to my dad's condo at 6 a.m. and knocked until he answered. Read these, I said, shoving the box at him. What? Mom's letters. Read what she said about you, about us, about love. He read them while I made coffee. When he finished, he was crying. She believed in me, he said, even knowing how badly I'd mess everything up. She also believed in me, and I did mess up, but I'm fixing it. Are we okay? He asked. You and me? I thought about it. Really thought. We're getting there, I said finally. It's going to take time, but we're moving in the right direction. That's more than I deserve, probably, but it's what I'm willing to give. He hugged me then, the first real hug in years. Not the awkward side hugs Colleen had allowed, a real father-daughter embrace. I love you, he said. I'm sorry I stopped showing it. I love you too, Dad. It wasn't complete forgiveness. It wasn't erasing 3 years of pain, but it was a start. The twins paid their first installment 3 months later, $500 each. They'd both been working full-time while starting their careers. This is ridiculous, I told them. You don't owe me anything. We owe you $337,000, one corrected. We're paying $1,000 a month combined. It'll take us 28 years at this rate, but we're doing it. I don't want your money. Then consider it rent for space in our conscience. We can't move forward until we've paid this debt. I understood. Some debts aren't about money. They're about honor. Fine, but I'm putting it in an account for your future kid's education, so technically you're still benefiting. They smiled. That works. My dad started dating again a year after Colleen's sentencing. A kind woman named Patricia who taught high school English. She was the opposite of Colleen. Warm, generous, authentic. I'd like you to meet her, he said nervously. Only if you're ready. I'm ready. Patricia was lovely. She knew the whole story and didn't run away. Your father talks about you constantly, she told me over coffee. He's very proud of your strength. He's getting there too. It's not easy. Rebuilding trust after betrayal. No, but it's possible. She smiled. I'm glad. He's a good man who made mistakes. We've all been there. I liked her. She didn't try to replace my mother or act like my dad's past didn't exist. She just existed alongside it, carving out her own space. 2 years after the trial, I graduated with my social work degree, top of my class. The entire family came. The twins brought flowers. My dad sat in the front row with Patricia, beaming. Nana wore her best dress and cried through the whole ceremony. "Your mother is watching," she whispered to me after. "She's so proud." I hope so. I know so. I can feel her. She's here. I believed her. My first job was at a women's shelter, helping abuse survivors rebuild their lives. I understood them. I knew what it felt like to have someone systematically try to erase you. "How did you survive?" they'd ask. I fought back. I refused to disappear. And I found my family again. But how do you trust after that? Slowly, carefully, with people who earn it. My dad earned it. Over time, through consistent effort and genuine change, he went to therapy. He learned to recognize manipulation. He apologized without expecting immediate forgiveness. 3 years after the cruise, we were okay. Not perfect, but okay. The twins finished paying their debt in year 7. They'd both gotten promotions and doubled their payments. "We're done," one announced, making the final transfer. $337,000 paid in full, plus interest, the other added. "We calculated it at 5% annually. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, we did. For us." "What now?" They looked at each other. "Now we move forward without that weight. Now we're clean. You were always clean. You were children. We were beneficiaries. That made us complicit, even unknowingly. This evens the scales." I respected that. They needed to make it right to live with themselves. That took integrity. Colleen served 12 years before becoming eligible for parole. She was denied. Lack of remorse, the board said. She'd apparently spent her entire incarceration claiming she was the victim, that we'd conspired against her, that she'd only done what any loving stepmother would do. The twins didn't attend her hearing. Neither did my dad. They'd all moved on. She'd be eligible again in 3 years. None of us would be there. "Does it bother you?" Patricia asked me once. "That she's still out there, breathing and alive?" "No, she's in a prison of her own making. I'm free. That's very evolved. I had good therapy." She laughed. "Fair enough." My dad and Patricia got married in a small ceremony 5 years after Colleen's sentencing. I stood as his best person. "Are you sure?" he'd asked when he proposed the idea. "Yes. Patricia makes you happy. You deserve happiness. So do you." "I'm working on it." And I was. I'd started dating someone from my graduate program, a kind, stable person who didn't play games, who communicated clearly, who'd met my family and survived my protective grandmother's interrogation. "You've been through hell," Nana had told them. "If you hurt her, I will end you." "Noted," they'd said, not joking. Life got better. The scar tissue was still there, but it stopped hurting daily, then weekly. Eventually, I'd go months without thinking about Colleen. The house my mother had wanted, the one I'd bought with the recovered money, became my sanctuary. I'd plant gardens every spring, host family dinners every month, fill it with love and laughter the way she would have. The twins became part of that. Not stepbrothers exactly, but family. The kind you choose rather than inherit. "Thank you," one said at Christmas dinner 10 years after the cruise, "for giving us a chance when you had every right to hate us. Hating you would have let her win. She wanted to destroy our family. We didn't let her." "We're family?" the other asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. "We're family." My dad overhead and started crying into his cranberry sauce. Patricia rubbed his back. "He does that now," she explained. "Cries at everything. It's actually very sweet." "I'm just happy," he said, wiping his eyes. "For so long I was numb. Then I was in pain. Now I'm just happy." "Good," I said. "You deserve that." And I meant it. Forgiveness isn't instant. It's not a switch you flip. It's a choice you make repeatedly over years. Some days it's easy. Some days you remember the hurt and have to choose again. But we all kept choosing. Choosing repair over resentment. Choosing growth over grudges. Choosing family. On my 30th birthday, my dad gave me a gift. "What is this?" I asked, opening the box. Inside was the deed to my childhood home, the one he'd sold after Colleen went to prison. "I bought it back last year, had it completely renovated. The bedroom is restored exactly as your mother had it, down to the stenciling. Dad, it's yours, if you want it, no pressure. But I wanted you to have the choice. Your mother's house, your history." I walked through it the next day. He'd been thorough. Every detail matched my memories. The walls, the fixtures. Even the garden had the same roses my mother planted. "How did you remember all this?" I asked. "I never forgot. I just stopped letting myself remember. Colleen wanted me to erase the past. Patricia helped me reclaim it." I moved in 3 months later. It felt like coming home. The first night there, I could swear I smelled my mother's perfume, felt her presence in the walls. "Hey, Mom," I said to the empty house. "I'm home." The curtains fluttered despite no breeze. "I know," I said. "I feel you too." The twins helped me move, carrying boxes and assembling furniture. My dad directed operations with Patricia supervising. Nana showed up with enough food to feed an army. "A housewarming feast," she declared. "Your mother would have insisted." She absolutely would have. We ate on the floor of my empty living room, surrounded by boxes and love, my chosen family, the one that survived the storm. "To second chances," my dad toasted with cheap wine in plastic cups. "To family," I corrected. "To stubborn women who refuse to be erased," Nana added. "Here, here." We clinked our plastic cups together. That night, after everyone left, I opened my mother's letters again. I'd read them all 100 times, but they never got old. "My darling girl," one read. "If you're in your 30s reading this, it means you survived your 20s. Well done. They're brutal. I hope you found love. I hope you found yourself. I hope you've learned that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about how you heal afterward. Remember, wounds leave scars, but scars are proof that you survived, proof that you healed, proof that you're stronger than whatever tried to break you. Wear your scars proudly, my love. They're your battle armor. I love you more than words can say. Today, tomorrow, and forever. Love, Mom. I held the letter to my chest and cried. Not sad tears this time, grateful ones. Because she was right. I had survived. I had healed. And the scars, while permanent, had made me stronger. Colleen had tried to erase me from my own family. She'd almost succeeded. But I fought back. I refused to disappear. And in the end, I reclaimed everything she'd tried to steal. Not just the money, though that helped, but my place in my family, my history, my mother's legacy, my father's love, my own sense of self. She'd wanted to write me out of the story. Instead, she wrote herself out, and we continued on without her, building something better, something real, something that couldn't be bought or stolen or faked. We built a family, the real kind, the hard kind, the kind that survives betrayal and comes back stronger. 15 years after that cruise, I got a letter from Colleen. She was up for parole again. I've changed, she wrote. I've seen the error of my ways. I hope you can find it in your heart to write a letter of support for my hearing. I read it twice, then fed it to the shredder. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. Some bridges deserve to stay burned. I spent that evening with my family instead, with my dad and Patricia, with the twins and their partners, with Nana, still fierce at 87, with my chosen people who'd proven their worth through years of consistent love. Colleen wrote, I mentioned casually over dinner. What did she want? My dad asked. Support for her parole hearing. What did you say? Nothing. I fed the letter to the shredder. Nana cackled. That's my girl. She doesn't get access to this, I said, gesturing around the table. This took too long to build. She doesn't get to contaminate it again. Agreed, the twins said simultaneously. My dad raised his glass. To protecting what matters. To protecting what matters, we echoed. And we did. We protected it, nurtured it, defended it when necessary. Because family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when times get hard. Colleen could have been family. She chose to be a predator instead. We chose differently. We chose each other. And that made all the difference. 20 years after the cruise, I stood in my mother's garden cutting roses for her grave. My own daughter, Emma, named after my mother's middle name, helped carry the basket. Tell me about Grandma again, she said. She was strong, I started, and kind, and stubborn as hell, like you, like me, and Great-Grandma, even more so. Did Grandma ever meet the mean lady? No, sweetie, Grandma died before that. That's sad, it is. But you know what? I think Grandma would be proud of how we handled it. Because you fought back? Because I survived. We placed the roses on my mother's grave, fresh pink ones, just like she loved. I miss her, Emma said, though she'd never met her grandmother. Me too, baby, me too. But we have stories. We do. And Great-Grandma, for now, she's 92. She won't be here forever. That's sad too. Life is full of sad things, Emma, but also beautiful ones. You have to learn to hold both. She thought about that, then nodded. Like how Grandpa was married to the mean lady, but now he has Patricia and she's nice? Exactly like that. And how the twins' mom was mean, but they're good? Yes. People can choose to be good even when their family is bad. That's very wise, Emma. Great-Grandma told me that. Of course she did. Nana had opinions about everything. We walked back to the car where my dad and Patricia waited with the twins and their families. 3 generations of family, chosen in blood, all gathered to remember someone who died before some of them were born. Your mother would love this, my dad said, watching the chaos of children playing around gravestones. She would. I'm sorry I let you down for those years. I know I've said it before, but, Dad, it's okay. We're okay. Are we really? Yes, we really are. And we were. The hurt had faded to a dull ache, then to a memory, then to just part of our story. The chapter that made us stronger. Emma tugged my hand. Can I tell you something? Always. I'm glad the mean lady went to jail. Because if she didn't, we wouldn't have this family. That's a complicated way to think about it. But true. Sometimes bad things lead to good things. Great-Grandma said that too. Great-Grandma is very smart. She says you're her greatest achievement. She says that about all her grandchildren. No, just you. I heard her tell Uncle Thomas that you're the one who kept everyone together. That you're the steel in the family spine. My throat tightened. She said that? Yep. She also said some bad words about the mean lady, but I'm not supposed to repeat those. Probably wise. We climbed in the car and drove home. To the house my mother wanted. The one I'd lost and reclaimed. The one now filled with love and children and the echoes of 3 generations of stubborn women who refused to break. That night, I added to my mother's letters, writing one for Emma to read someday. My darling daughter, I wrote. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But know that I loved you fiercely. That I fought to give you a life full of security and joy. You come from a line of strong women. Your great-grandmother who survived the Depression and 2 wars and never stopped fighting. Your grandmother who faced cancer with grace and left you a legacy through me. And me, who learned that strength isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Life will try to knock you down, Emma. It will send Colleens and betrayals and losses. But you're stronger than anything life throws at you. Remember, family isn't about blood. It's about choice. Choose people who show up, who stay, who fight for you when you can't fight for yourself. And know that I'm always with you. In every sunset, every rose, every moment of joy. I love you more than words can say. Love, Mom. I sealed the letter and added it to the box where my mother's letters lived. A legacy of love spanning generations. proof that even death couldn't break the bond between mother and daughter. Colleen had tried to steal that from me, to erase my mother's memory and insert herself instead. She'd failed spectacularly, because love doesn't die. It transforms. It grows. It becomes the foundation everything else is built on. My mother's love had carried me through the darkest times, had given me the strength to fight back, had shown me what real family looked like. And now I was passing that legacy to Emma, teaching her to be strong, to fight back, to choose love over bitterness. The scars from those 3 years would never fully disappear. Sometimes I'd see a woman with Colleen's build and my chest would tighten. Sometimes I'd catch myself checking my bank account obsessively, paranoid about theft. Sometimes I'd wake up from nightmares where I was back on that ship, alone and excluded. But those moments grew rarer. The healing was real. And when Emma asked about her grandmother, I didn't talk about Colleen. I talked about my mother. About the real grandmother she'd never meet but whose love still echoed through our family. That was the final victory. Colleen wanted to replace my mother's legacy. Instead, she'd been forgotten. A footnote in our family story. The villain who made us stronger. My mother, meanwhile, lived on. In the roses. In the stenciled bedroom walls. In the letters. In the memories. In me. In Emma. In the love that couldn't be stolen or destroyed or erased. 25 years after the cruise, Colleen was finally paroled. She was 70 years old, broken by prison, and completely alone. The twins had never visited. My dad had divorced her while she was incarcerated. She had no one. I heard about it through the legal system. They were required to notify me as the victim. Part of me felt satisfaction. She'd destroyed her life in pursuit of money that was never hers, but mostly I felt nothing. She was irrelevant now. My life had moved on. I had Emma. I had my career helping abuse survivors rebuild their lives. I had a family that chose each other every day. I had peace. Colleen could live the rest of her days alone with her regrets. That was punishment enough. She tried to contact me, one of the twins told me at Christmas that year. He was 44 now, a father himself. Through a lawyer, wants to meet her grandchildren. What did you say? No, obviously. She gave up the right to be in our lives the day she stole from you. You could forgive her, if you wanted. Why would I want to? She's not my mother anymore. She stopped being that years ago. She's just a stranger who shares some DNA. His brother nodded in agreement. We have family here. Real family. Why would we contaminate that with someone who spent decades manipulating everyone around her? Some people think forgiveness is healing, I said carefully. Those people didn't have their entire college education funded by stolen money from their stepfather's daughter's dead mother. We know exactly who she is. We're good without her. Fair enough. That night, my dad asked if I thought he should reach out to her. Why would you do that? Christian charity? Forgiveness? I don't know. She's old and alone. Dad, she stole from your daughter. She tried to erase her from the family. She manipulated you for years. Why do you owe her anything? I don't, but I worry about karma, about dying with regrets. Then don't regret protecting your family. That's the right choice. He thought about it, then nodded. You're right. I spent 3 years choosing her over you. I'm not making that mistake again. Good. But what if, Dad? No, she made her choices. She gets to live with them. We get to live without her. That's how this works. He never brought it up again. Colleen died 6 years later at 76, alone in a state nursing home. The twins were notified as next of kin. They declined to claim the body. Let the state handle it, one said. She's not our responsibility. That seems harsh, Patricia said gently. She was harsh for decades. This is just consequence. I didn't attend any service. Neither did anyone in my family. She was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave with no one there to mourn her. Does it bother you? Emma asked. She was 16 now, sharp and compassionate like her grandmother. That she died alone. No, she could have had family. She chose manipulation and theft instead. That was her decision. But isn't that sad? To die with no one caring? It's sad that she never learned how to love people without trying to control them. But that's on her, not us. So we just forget she existed? No, we remember what she did. We learn from it, but we don't let her memory poison our present. That's very evolved, Mom. I had good therapy. She laughed. The same laugh I'd heard from my mother in old videos. Proof that good things transcend death. 30 years after the cruise, my dad died peacefully in his sleep at 82. Patricia was beside him. I got there within the hour. He was happy at the end, she told me. He talked about your mother, about you, about second chances. Did he have regrets? Only one. That he wasted 3 years with the wrong person when he could have been building bridges with you. We fixed that, though. You did. He died knowing he'd earned your forgiveness. That meant everything to him. At his funeral, the family gathered again. Smaller now. Nana had passed at 98. Several aunts and uncles were gone, but we still came together. The twins eulogized him as the father who'd shown them how to be good men. Patricia talked about his kindness and his journey from loss to redemption. Emma read a poem about legacy and love. I spoke last. My dad made mistakes, I started. Big ones. For 3 years, he let someone poison our family. He chose comfort over truth, his new wife over his daughter. But he also did something harder than never making mistakes. He admitted them. He changed. He spent the rest of his life earning back what he'd lost. That takes courage. It would have been easier to double down, to justify his choices, to blame everyone else. He didn't. He looked at himself honestly and didn't like what he saw. So he became someone different, someone better. And in the end, he was the father I needed. Not perfect, but present, honest, trying. That's all any of us can do. Try, fail, get back up, try again. I'm grateful I got to see his second act, that we got to repair what was broken, that I got to tell him I loved him before he died. Colleen almost took that from us. She almost succeeded in permanently severing our bond, but we fought for each other, and we won. That's his legacy, not the mistakes, the repair, the choice to be better. The room was silent. Then one of the twins stood. He taught us that too. How to come back from being complicit in harm, how to make amends, how to be family. We're grateful for that. For him, for all of you. After the funeral, we gathered at my house. The one my mother wanted. The one my father bought back for me. The place where 3 generations of family had learned to love and forgive and fight and survive. To Dad, I toasted, who learned that love is a verb, that family is a choice, that it's never too late to do the right thing. To family, everyone echoed. And we drank to the living and the dead, to the people who showed up, who stayed, who chose us over and over again. Emma stood beside me, nearly an adult herself now. I'm proud to be part of this family, Mom. Even though we're messy, especially because we're messy, we survived. We rebuilt. We're still here. That we are, baby. That we are. Outside, roses bloomed in the garden, pink ones, like my mother loved. They came back every spring without fail. Proof that some things are too strong to be killed, too beautiful to be erased, too loved to be forgotten. Colleen had tried to uproot us, to destroy the garden my mother planted, to salt the earth so nothing beautiful could grow. But gardens are resilient. They survive fires and floods and frosts. They go dormant when necessary, then burst back to life when conditions are right. We were that garden. Damaged but not destroyed. Dormant but not dead. And now, decades later, blooming more beautifully than ever. That was the real ending. Not revenge, not watching Colleen suffer, but this. Standing in a garden surrounded by family, remembering those we'd lost, celebrating those still here, building something beautiful from the ruins of what she tried to destroy. That night, I wrote the final entry in my letter to Emma. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But you're not alone. You have this family, this garden, this house, this legacy of strong women who refuse to break. Life will try you. It will send betrayals and losses and people who want to use you. But you're stronger than all of it. Remember the cruise story. Remember how I fought back, not with cruelty or revenge, but with truth, with persistence, with the refusal to disappear. That's your inheritance. Not money, though there's some of that too, but strength, resilience, the knowledge that you come from a line of survivors who turned pain into power. Wear your scars proudly. They're proof you survived. I love you more than life itself. Love, Mom. I sealed it and placed it with my mother's letters. 3 generations of women, all saying the same thing across time. You are loved, you are strong, you will survive. And we did. All of us. Through everything, we survived.